Hello and welcome to the breakdown video for the ReSound I did of the Nemesis assault rifle from Apex Legends. So, it sounds like this. Neato. So, first of all, I will use this VidPlay VST. I will put in the original audio file like so, and then I will sort of, using the audio file as it already tells the perfect story of the gun in the first place, to sort of map out these key moments in the gun. Obviously, we have like the 5 times that we fire our 4 bullets, 4 bursts. We have like the start of the reload, etc., etc. So I sort of map those down so I can just reference their points, and then it allows me to sort of snap my events to those slits there, because for some reason in Bitwig, even if I were to put markers down, it's only snapping because it's on there, but if I put this in the middle of nowhere, I can't really snap to it reliably for some reason. Yeah, so that's why this is set up that way. So we have the muzzle sound like this. This is comprised out of a lot of different sounds. A lot of them are synthesized. Here we have this first sound, one of the main sounds. This comes from a sample that I made forever ago from Serum. It was like a bass sound for music. And I just took that, I threw it in a sampler, put it on the granular mode, and then started to mess with the speed and some of the grain. Gave it a bit of a volume envelope, did some low cuts, added a little bit of saturation to it. And then I also use this randomizer modulator that is unique to Bitwig. So in here I have like this grain size, decay, speed, pitch, play ahead, all being modulated slightly by this modulator. And this modulator will essentially pick a new position every single time it gets a MIDI note to give every single click of this a different sound. So it's just always changing all the time. And then I have this little sub underneath it that sounds like this. And this is just a saw and a sine wave jammed together. It has some sort of like kick type pitch modulation being jammed together with distortion. And then I use some weird envelope for the audio, for the amplitude to give it a bit of clickiness and a bit of rattliness. And then I suck out the life out of the middle to make it a little bit more boomy, but not very present. And then here I have this other instrument layer, or this other sound, which is made from these little glitch sounds, but I'm just using the end. And they're both made from a sound mildly similar to that one. That one's a bit more pitched, like a really, the ending part I like a lot. So I have those, they're put inside of some samplers that are just only repitching them very basically, but this one on the top has this snap heap, giving it a lot of dispersion. Really warp the sound, and then a little bit of frequency shifting. The second one has a little bit of EQ, and then the width turned down. Otherwise, it's very wide and stereo. And then both of these have this key modulator, which gives me like essentially 12 slots to come in here, modulate some things, as we can see on the side here, that, for example, C changes the decay, C sharp changes this, D changes that. So then if I actually come in here and move these around, I can get some variations based on the pitch of the note. But then I have a kick, just playing, just really simple kick coming through just for like a click and a little bit of sub, and then being distorted to just give it some oomph, and then that starts off the sequence together with the sub to just give a bit of give it some sound. And then here we have the muzzle itself. This uses a lot of post-processing that really helps give it the juice. Otherwise it sounds like this. And so what I'm doing is I'm separating the lows and the highs, and then I'm going to go ahead and use a frequency shifter to pitch it up over time to give it the sound that, hey, your magazine is running out, your barrel's getting hot, like indicate to the player to take cover and reload soon. So I use that to kind of help with that a little bit, and of course OTT, and then I use some saturation to round out the peaks a bit, and then I use some dispersion, and again that helps a lot. Makes it really boomy, gives a lot of lasery feel to it. I have this transient shaper. Helps significantly, and then I'm ramming it into a bit 8 or a bit crusher. I like to use this as literally the mastering limiter on my music, or even in the context of something really like digital and like lasery as a limiter for that. It can sound really nice. And then I also use it, of course, to control the width, which is another extra convenient factor about that. And that's that sound completely. And then I have this charge sound. So I have it kind of wind down in between shots, and I have the effect a little bit exaggerated. And this is supposed to indicate this blue charge that you get here. And the charge would go down after some time, but not within the 7-second clip. It would probably take more about like about 8 to 10 seconds after reloading the gun for the charge to actually start going back towards 0. But I mean, this would just be a looping sound set up on a RTPC of the charge of the gun, etc. And yeah, so that's made out of this looping sound, which is again one of those like really kind of horrible glitch sounds, or horrible when they're loud at least. And it loops that part really fast using some little bit of granular setup. And then we have, let's pitch this. There we go. So I have this distortion module, which effectively makes it sound really noisy. So I use that. And then I have a bit of a low pass filter and then a little bit of a high cut. That's that sound there to give it a bit of the heat or venting noise, maybe. So a little bit of a motor. Then I have this actual arcing sound. And this is just made from a sample from splice of a toy, like some sort of toy with a motor, like a wind-up motor maybe, or a battery motor. And when I run that in conjunction with this pitch, do this pitch modulation, which will just change only the pitch and the grain. And then I put this bit crusher on there, which makes the sound like so much better, brings it to life a lot. And then I add this EQ to bass boost. Yep, so that's that. And then I have all this Foley. A lot of this is for that's a lot of it. It's all for the reload animations, but it's a lot of different samples from a lot of different places. Like I have a few things from Splice, like just Splice packs of just like touching toys or handling things. I have some stuff from a rubber glove. I have a few like little digital sounds that I've made. And then a few like little weapon handling sounds from Breath of the Wild in a few places. Like there's a lot of like just random files and there's no real organization. Like they're just kind of placed on a track that had the best EQ for what I wanted that sound to do. This one has this little sound, the sound of like the sort of magazine dispersing its energy when you release it, and it releases sort of the connection from the magazine to the gun. Presumably, you're like sort of unplugging it in this action. Then you get that little arcing sound comes from this sound, and then when I use a bit crusher, gives it a lot of really interesting sound. Didn't expect it to work like that when I did that. Yeah, and it all just kind of just like all this Foley stuff goes together. I have this little peaked noise, and this really helps sell a 3D space on it a lot when you kind of see it jump from left to right or right to left. Helps a lot. And this is it's just noise with a peak filter and some EQing and bit crushing and some automation to go with it. It helps really sell the 3D environment, I think. In conjunction, of course, with the reverb on the bottom, which is just a send, which is a little bit of a feedback and some Pro R going on. I use that, and then a really, really basic sort of like canyon ambience that's been pitched down a bit. Just together to all really sell that 3D space. So that you could watch this, especially if you didn't know anything about Apex, you could watch this and literally just say, wow, that's the Apex gun, cool. That's what it sounds like. This is Apex. This is what Apex sounds like. Definitely nothing suspicious happening here. But yeah, that's the whole breakdown of the sound. That's the 7-second clips. Yeah, thanks for watching. Peace out.